6 June 2023.
And in that regard, Madam Speaker informed the House that she had caused the petition to be laid on the table of the House in accordance with Standing Orders 125(1) and constituted a select committee to consider the petition. She further informed the House that the committee would report its findings to the House on Tuesday, 25th July 2023, and honorable members who intended to make submissions to the committee should do so during the committee's program of work.
Thereafter, there was a ruling by Madam Speaker. She reminded the House that on Friday, 3rd March 2023, when the House was considering the ministerial statement issued by the Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development and Mr. Menyani Zulu, Member of Parliament for Nyimba, was on the floor, Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, Member of Parliament for Chinsali, raised the point of order as to whether the Minister of Information and Media, Honorable Chushi Kasanda MP, was in order to disrespect the office of the Honorable Madam First Deputy Speaker, who was presiding at the time, by walking out of the House without bowing and making an offensive gesture which was disrespect to Madam First Deputy Speaker.
And further, Madam Speaker then stated that Honorable Kasanda MP breached the standing orders 57(1) and 63 by raising to speak without being called upon, and to do so by raising to speak without being called upon to do so by the presiding officer. She further stated that Honorable Kasanda MP was in breach of the standing orders 2042E by walking out of the House without bowing to the chair. Additionally, Madam Speaker has stated that the gesture made by Honorable Kasanda MP while leaving the chamber was disrespectful to the House and a breach of Section 19E of the National Assembly of Standing Orders, Powers and Privileges Act.
And in that regard, Madam Speaker ruled that Honorable Kasanda MP was in breach of parliamentary privilege and in contempt of the House, and therefore was out of order. However, due to the prevailing atmosphere at the time and Honorable Kasanda MP having shown remorse for her action, Madam Speaker cautioned her and all honorable members to desist from such conduct which tended to disrupt the proceedings of the House and brought the House into odium, ridicule and disrepute. And so that was the ruling which was there. And thereafter there was one matter of urgent public importance which was raised under Standing Order 134, and it came from Petauke Member of Parliament, Mr. Emmanuel J. Banda. This was on a subject matter: more than 50 pupils at Singoli and Lusowe primary schools fell sick as a result of learning under the trees, and so this matter was inadmissible.
And thereafter, the House went on to consider questions for oral answer. This was question number 375 to 379, under Standing Order 74. And the House also considered the report of the Zambian delegation to the Pan-African Parliament for the second ordinary session of the 6th Pan-African Parliament held from 15th May to 2nd June 2023 for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 11th July 2023, and this motion was moved by Matero Member of Parliament, Mr. Miles Sampa, and it was thereafter adopted.
And at the time, business was interrupted on Friday, 14th July 2023, under consideration was the National Prosecution Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, which came at a committee stage. And so, like I said, business was interrupted at the time the House was considering this bill, and the chairperson interrupted the proceedings and committee work stood adjourned. And so that is basically business that was considered on the floor of the House on Friday, 14th July 2023. And so just now, we shift our attention and look at today's order paper.
Yes, Matimba, today, Tuesday, 18th July 2023, we have one question, Understanding Order 76, which is a question of urgent nature. And then we have 4 questions, Understanding Order 74, which are questions of ordinary nature. And then we have 1 motion and 2 bills to be considered on the floor of the House.
And the committee report will be moved by Zambezi East Member of Parliament, Mr. Brian Kambita, urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of water and sanitation companies for the financial year ended 31st December 2020. And so there you have it on your screen is Madam Speaker's procession making its way to the chamber. People watching Parliament Television, good afternoon.
Parliament! Madam Speaker!
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's own hand. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun. Oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free. Praise be to God, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. Matters of urgent public importance. I see 4 honorable members have indicated. We start with the honorable member for Chama North. What's the matter of urgent public importance, honorable member for Chama North?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The matter of urgent public importance I wish to raise is directed to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Proceed, honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the country today woke up to a screaming headline in the Diggers newspaper headlined, PF recruited junkies IG. Madam Speaker, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Musamba, has stated that the PF government recruited cadres and junkies in the police service who are now committing criminal cases such as rape, sodomizing people who are in detention, and engaging in other unprofessional acts. Madam Speaker, this statement is quite very serious because potentially it can undermine state security. Madam Speaker, I think you remember that members of parliament have been complaining about police abducting members of parliament and also police brutality. Madam Speaker, what is more worrying is that your members, both from the left and right, of late have been in police detention. So we don't know how safe they are. Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, do not debate when you raise your matter of urgent public importance. And you are fully aware of what the criteria is for a matter to qualify to be admitted as such. So, honorable member, that issue that you are raising surely does not fit in any criteria that is stated under the standing order. Put in a question if you want that matter to be. Can be a question, an ordinary question, or depending on what the journals department are going to advise. Definitely, your matter does not qualify. The honorable member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on this matter of public agent importance on the Minister of Lands. Unfortunately, is not in the House. I will put it on her honor, the Vice President. Madam Speaker, for the past 5 or 3 months, people who want to seek medication abroad, not necessarily depending on government, they have properties that they want to sell so that they go and seek medical attention, either abroad or indeed locally, have been left to die because the Minister of Lands for the past 3 months has not actually is not in a position to do anything. In short, the Minister of Lands, Madam Speaker, is non-functional. It's as good as closing all the offices and let the civil servants be staying in their homes. This is affecting citizens countrywide, Madam Speaker. Even at international trade fair, where they were advertising that they will be issuing title deeds, they only issued 1 title deed. This is a serious problem which is impacting on the lives of our people, including the government itself. So I seek your serious ruling on this matter, because no commercial transactions can take place without operationalization of the Minister of Lands. So the consequences are there, Madam Speaker. I seek your serious ruling on this matter. I submit.
Thank you. All the honorable members, let's desist from debating while we are seated. Honorable member for Chama South. If you recall very well, the honorable member for Feira raised that matter as a matter of urgent public importance. It was because of the urgency that I attached to that issue over the issuance of certificates of title. The Honorable Minister of Lands was guided or directed to come and issue a ministerial statement. And the Honorable Minister did that. That is about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, again, you are raising the same issue. I believe we should avoid being repetitious. If a statement has already been rendered, all you have to do, honorable member, is to make a follow-up. Make sure that you read the ministerial statement and make a follow-up with the minister to see whether what he undertook to do has been done. And if there are any challenges, what the challenges are. It will not change the situation or the position if I again directed the Honorable Minister of Lands to come to this House with a ministerial statement. So let's remain alert and listen and follow proceedings in the House so that we don't raise same matters over and over again. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The matter I wish to raise is towards the Minister of Education.
Proceed, Honorable Member. What is the matter?
Madam Speaker, it's with a very heavy heart that I raise this matter because Lundazi boarding has lost 2 children whom we buried yesterday, Jonathan Chivovoka and Enoch Joseph Mwale. Madam Speaker, these children drowned and were only discovered 3 days ago upon the prompting of a parent who traveled from here to Lundazi. Madam Speaker, the children left the school and went to a nearby riverside, and the deck pursued the children. They jumped into the river and drowned. Madam Speaker, for 10 days, the parents were not informed that these children had died. The mother left Lusaka with groceries to go and give the son. That is the only time that they started looking for the children from one mortuary to the other. Madam Speaker, we send our children to school to learn, not to be picked in coffins. I need your assistance, Madam Speaker, so that the Minister of Education, together with the Minister in charge of DEC, can come and give a statement to why the children lost their lives in such circumstances. I submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Lundazi. And we are so sorry and sad that life has been lost of our young children. And I can offer my sincere condolences to the affected families. But what I can advise, Honorable Member, since this matter relates to one particular school, you can put in an urgent question, which can grace our order paper in the course of this week or next week, so that the Honorable Minister can come back and answer that particular question. The Honorable Member for Mpika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a matter of urgent public importance pursuant to Standing Order number 134, directed at the leader of government business in the House in the absence of the local government minister.
Proceed, honorable members. We are on matters of urgent public importance, so when you are called upon, you state what the matter is.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, under the current economic hardships, government has proceeded to evict street vendors from the streets of Lusaka where they trade from. As I'm speaking right now, Madam Speaker, various Facebook pages are streaming live the happenings in town where the vendors are almost breaking properties and other variables, which means the security of our nation is at risk of being disturbed. I therefore seek your guidance, Madam Speaker, that government issues a statement to what is happening in town right now, where the vendors have been removed from their trading spaces in the streets. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member from Pika. The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development is performing his functions. So let's allow him to perform his functions. And when there is need for him to come and explain to this House, he will come and explain. But for now, let's allow him to do his work. I believe that's within his mandate. So that point, the matter is not admitted. The Honorable Member for Kasanengwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to allow the people of Kasenengwa to rise on a matter of public urgent importance. Madam Speaker, this matter is directed to the Minister of Local Government and the Rural Development. Madam Speaker, I remember last year, one of your members, maybe could be on the left, rose on this matter again, requesting that the Ministry of Local Government do introduce quality control mechanisms in the projects under CDF. Madam Speaker, nothing has been done and this issue was not addressed in this House. What is happening now around the country with the CDF projects is that these projects, Madam Speaker, are being done without people constantly inspecting the quality of works that are being done under CDF. What happened is district councils were fully funded with funds without enhancing or beefing up the staffing levels in the works department, leaving them at the same level. And they are not able, Madam Speaker, to go at the same speed as we want these CDF projects to run. What is happening is that most of the contractors, Madam Speaker, are working below standards or below required levels. Madam Speaker, this is a serious challenge. Otherwise, the CDF will go in vain. We cannot continue, Madam Speaker, doing business as usual. We need quality control mechanisms. I, therefore, Madam Speaker, seek your guidance in this matter, which is very serious and very important. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The emphasis doesn't make it any more important. But anyway, the matter is important, Honorable Member for Kasanengwa. CDF is meant to benefit the community. And all of us honorable members, we are supposed to be involved in the performance and ensuring that the works that are done are acceptable to acceptable standard. So, honorable member, if you are interested to know more about that, put in a question and the honorable minister will come and ask. But maybe just as a matter of emphasis, I would urge all honorable members of parliament to be involved in the CDF, because CDF is just constituency development fund. It's meant for members of parliament to work with the community. So let's not shun it and give it away our responsibilities. Where we see that people are taking over, we should put our foot down. Let's make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 76. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 380.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member for Kankoyo asks whether the government is aware that houses for residents of Kankoyo Township in Kankoyo parliamentary constituency are collapsing due to blasting activities being conducted by the mining companies in the area. If so, that is B, what measures are being taken to resolve the problem in order to avert the loss of life? The response is that government is not aware of residential houses collapsing in Kankoyo Township due to the alleged blasting activities by some mining companies and has not received any report on such a matter. The House may wish to know that Mopani Copper Mines PLC is currently the only company undertaking mining activities in Kankoyo constituency. Investigations undertaken by the ministry has revealed that mining activities are conducted in two areas of distances of 1.2 and 1.9 kilometers away from the residential areas. Whereas blasting activities are conducted further away from the surface at depths of 961 meters and 1,507 meters respectively. This is in accordance with the Mines and Minerals Development Act number 11 of 2015. Furthermore, the investigation revealed that safety pillars at the two blasting sites have not been disturbed or mined out to compromise the integrity of the surface, and that no primary blasting is taking place in Kankoyo. B, Madam Speaker, the ministry through the Mine Safety Department directed Mopani Copper Mines PLC to reconduct a trial blast in order to determine the impact, if any, that blasting may have on the structural integrity of buildings in Kankoyo Township. Consequently, the blasting was done on Sunday, 16th July, 2023, and the results show that there is no impact or concussion noted to cause any damage to houses or indeed to buildings in Kankoyo Township. However, Madam Speaker, the ministry is engaging with various stakeholders, including DMMU, Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, Mufulira Municipal Council, and the Zambia Environmental Management Agency to look at possibility of relocating the affected residents of Kankoyo. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if the Minister and his team were to go to Section C in Kankoyo.
Sorry, the Honorable Member for Kankoyo. Just a moment. There is an indication for a point of order from the Honorable Member for Bangweulu. What's the point of order, Honorable Member?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the point of order, and I apologize to my colleague for interruption. The point of order is pursuant to Standing Order 8210, directed at the leader of business in the House. Madam Speaker, on the 13th of October 2022, this House adopted the motion to improve councillors' conditions of service, the motion which was presented by Honorable Member of Parliament for Kanchibia. And then according to Standing Order 8210, and I quote, the Vice President or the Minister responsible for the subject matter of the motion shall, within 30 days of the resolution being passed by the House, submit a report on how government intends to implement the resolution. Madam Speaker, this is 8 months after the resolution was adopted by this House. And they have no evidence after perusing through Parliament that
Order, Honorable Member. I don't want to curtail you, but definitely that issue that you are raising does not qualify to be raised as a point of order. The breach must have occurred just now, recently, what we were doing, and what breach has occurred just as we were sitting here. So what you can do, you know the procedures, follow the standing orders, and put in whatever, whether it's before the whichever committee that you are going to follow. So it doesn't qualify to be raised as a point of order. You know the procedures on what qualifies to be raised as a point of order. Read your standing orders, then we won't waste time. May the Honorable Member for Kankoyo continue.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to invite the Minister of Mines and the Minister of Green Economy to find time to come and work with me in Section C of Kankoyo and just see how many houses have developed cracks, the houses which have collapsed, and many times I'm given requests, I'm invited me, and I'm requested by the community to rebuild those houses because they don't fall under the DMMU. I've got a report from the Green and Justice Organization which carried a survey to ascertain the causes of these houses collapsing. Some of them, they even sink down, hence posing a danger to the families. So, from the response the Minister of Mines has given, he has responded that there are no houses. Hence, I'd want to invite him and his counterpart, the Minister of Green Economy, to work with me in Kankoyo Section C so that we can look at this disaster before lives are lost. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister of Mines and Minister of Green Economy, you are being invited. The beauty of visiting constituency offices is you see what is happening on the ground. I happened to visit Kankoyo constituency, and I saw what is on the ground. So, Honorable Minister, I don't know, and also Honorable Member for Kankoyo, when you have an issue like this, always liaise with the Minister and find out means and ways of addressing the problem. Than waiting here, now you are like confronting each other. May the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The cracks of the houses, and I want to applaud the Honorable Member. I know he could have engaged us even outside, is that these cracks are historic. They happened during primary blasting in ZCCM days. So they are not caused by the current mining operations, which are secondary blasting. And when the report came, Madam Speaker, we did an investigation, and I gave the date on which that was done, this July. And we did all the tests in terms of distances, and blasting was actually done as a test. And there was nothing that was found in terms of crackings. So this happened during, I think, primary blasting, during the formative years of the mine. So that is why, because this government cares, and there is an MP who has cared for the people who have historic issues, is raising them up because it's a caring government, and then we are going to move in, and that's why we have engaged the DMMU, we have engaged the local authority, so that together we can see how we can mitigate the impact of those activities to our people in Kankoyo. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. While this question, Madam Speaker, is related to Kankoyo, Mopani operates in two areas, Mufrira and Kitwe. I remember bringing this particular matter to this House, except government couldn't move then because the matter was before the courts. Honorable Minister of Mines, these responses that the mines are operating within defined areas and hence cannot be said to be responsible for this cracking. Madam Speaker, the situation in Kankoyo is what is pertaining in my constituency in Nkana. Houses are about to sink. People are living in constant fear. Every time there's a blast, in Nkana, Honorable Minister, people literally have to move from their houses. Help us understand, Honorable Minister, there are no earthquakes in Zambia. There are no tremors in Zambia. So how then, if the Ministry of Mines and the mine officials continue to run away from responsibility, how then is it that these cracks continue to develop in these houses, and every time there's a blast, people have literally to run away from their houses? How is it possible that the cracking are not affecting the houses, when in fact these crackings are actually being affected or being compounded by the blasting that is happening in the mines? Madam Speaker, we seek your indulgence through the Minister of Mines. This problem is very serious. Before disaster happens, the minister must take responsibility. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for that question. I think I've made it clear that this government is responsible, and investigations, in fact, consultations with DMMU, even the mines themselves. This government is saying all mines must own up in terms of environmental protection, their behavior around, communities where they are domiciled. This government, Madam Speaker, has shown intent and responsibility by even creating the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment. It's to deal with matters like that. And what the Honourable Member should do, Madam Speaker, is to engage us. We meet all the time. He cannot wait for Parliament to sit to raise this matter. We meet, we can engage. All of us care for our people, Madam Speaker. And so I want to tell the Honourable Member that this is a responsible government, and we take responsibility for anything that happens in relation even to mining activities. We want to mine in a situation, Madam Speaker, where our people benefit from the mining activities and not die from the same mining activities. So we will take that matter seriously. Kankoyo, we are taking it seriously. We will also follow up on the issues in Nkana. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and the Minister, thank you very much for those response. Madam Speaker, while I appreciate
Order, Honourable Member for Ron. There's an indication, Honourable Member for Chitambo. What is the point of order?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Standing Order 65B is very clear about what to inform the nation. Madam Speaker, the Minister, in his answer to the question raised by the Member of Parliament for Kankoyo, he indicated that government is not aware of any house that is cracking and sinking in that constituency. Now, he is just informing us that his ministry is very serious about it, and these matters are historical, and he has been there, and the Minister of Green Economy and his ministry are working in connection to ensure that they stop these occurrences. Madam Speaker, I need help from the minister so that I can be able to understand what is occurring in Kankoyo. I need your serious ruling, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Maybe the Honourable Minister can repeat the answer. He can repeat the answer whether or not the Minister is aware or not aware.
Madam Speaker, I thank you very much. The statement must be read in context and completely. That's when you'll understand, because it qualifies by saying due to the alleged blasting activities. That is the qualification, Madam Speaker, of the question. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let's make progress. You can have some coffee outside. The Honourable Member for Kankoyo. Oh, sorry, Ron, you are not finished. Proceed, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, once more. And Minister, thank you very much for that response. Madam Speaker, while I appreciate your guidance that is a constituency-based issue, just like my counterpart from Nkana, Honourable Mpundu, said, This is a widespread area among the mining companies. And Madam Speaker, I remember bringing the question similar to that, where when the blasting is about to happen, the siren has to be sounded, and everyone from their homes has to run to an assembly point and then come back later. My question, Honourable Minister, is that now we are talking about the primary and secondary blasting, and that the government is aware of this problem, which in future can actually lead to a lot of loss in terms of life and others. What is your ministry, in conjunction with other sister ministries, going to do or planning to do to ensure that all these affected areas in the mining industries which are affected by the blasting, you put a caveat or you put a caution that this has to happen, and eventually, as you have suggested, that you evacuate all the people that are affected? What plans are there, Honourable Minister? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you've noticed, our colleague in the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment has been visiting mines. In fact, he recently just came back from Southern Province. We are working in collaboration with his ministry as Ministry of Mines to look at, number one, historic problems of cracking, historic problems of environmental mismanagement, and then we are also alerting the mine operators about the consequences of neglecting the environment and irresponsible mining. So plans are in place to make sure that no one mines irresponsibly, and this government is serious. Recently, Madam Speaker, we visited Lusaka West. I went there myself. The Ministry of Green Economy went there to go and check the kind of mining operations, because we are receiving complaints from members of the public about the quarry mines in Lusaka West. This is what this government is doing to alert mine operators, because I think as a country at some point we went to sleep and we were not checking these mines in terms of their operations. So the plans, Honourable Member, are there, Madam Speaker, to make sure that mining is done responsibly. I thank you.
Thank you very much. May I take this opportunity to welcome Honourable Jamba, the Honourable Member for Mwembeji. He has been unwell. He looks well now. Yeah, it's good when we see one of our members who has been unwell come back in the house. The Honourable Member for Kankoyo.
Yes, thank you once more, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you, the Minister of Mines, for that assurance, and I believe, being a man of action, this problem will be put behind. However, in
Honourable Member for Kankoyo, just a moment. Honourable members, we have to have a flow in the debates. We can't have every other minute there's a point of order. Honourable Member for Lunte, you have indicated. What's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, my point of order is on the Patriotic Front whip, Honourable Stephen Kampiong. Madam Speaker, outside there are policemen with guns in this precinct. In the newspaper today, which I have, it is clear that the police IG indicated that this man employed junkies. Madam, as police, and some of them are here with guns.
The Honourable Member, that issue, you may take your seat. You know, we have work to do, to attend to. I know you came in late. That issue was raised by the Honourable Member for Chairman North, and we has been guided accordingly. So when you say there are people outside, police officers with guns, you know, people are listening and now they are worried. All these 156 members of parliament, they have families, including yourself. So you are letting people there, you are alarming the public that at parliament today there are people with guns. Please, let's not go through that route. I've not been informed that there is any operation outside, so let's not alarm the nation. Let's not alarm the nation. Let's make progress. Honorable Member for Kanko, you may proceed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 2017, the World Bank gave the Republic of Zambia 65 million.
Can we have some order? Honorable Member for Mukushi South, I don't know what is amusing today. You've been laughing since you came through. Maybe we can share what the joke is. Don't laugh at your whip. Honorable Member for Shuangandu is your whip and is a senior member. Don't laugh at him. May the Honorable Member for Kankoyo proceed.
Yeah, I'm really getting distracted, Madam Speaker. Anyway, let me continue because this problem is close to my heart. In 2017, the World Bank gave the Republic of Zambia $65 million. If we are to convert that amount to the current exchange rate, is 1.2 billion. The part of this money was one to give a startup life to the people affected by mining activities of the people in Kankoyo, and number two, to relocate them. The research was done, the Mufura Municipal Council found the land, everything was done for these funds to be used. Unfortunately, the people of Kankoyo have never seen this money. So, we, the people of Kankoyo, Madam Speaker, we are happy. A month ago, the Minister of Mines came with the 14 million to give up startup capital to 55 cooperatives, which was equivalent to 14 million. However, 14 million compared to 1.2 billion is a drop in the ocean. So as we are appealing to the Minister of Mines to come and visit the place, we need the answer to know where our money went to. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development, where is the money?
Madam Speaker, I thank you so much for that question, and thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, the statement is true, but I will seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker, that I be given time and come and give a comprehensive statement on how that money has been used. That money belongs to ZIMRIP, it's World Bank money, and it was given, it's usually given for people that are affected by mining activities, including those whose houses have cracked. Help can come through that. So I would seek your indulgence that I come back and give a comprehensive statement of the same. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister will come back later to give a comprehensive statement. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, on a lighter note, I was going to protest that you have allowed the MP for Kankoyo to ask 2 questions under Standing Order 76 when you did not allow me 2 weeks ago. But nonetheless, that is on a lighter note, Madam Speaker. My follow-up question to the Minister of Mines. Minister, in your response, you have assured the people of Kankoyo that the local authority, working with DMMU and working with your ministry and Mopani, intend to relocate the affected people. I think that is what you stated in your statement. I want to find out, Minister, which funding are we going to use to facilitate the relocation of the affected people? It can't be a general statement. There must be some resources somewhere. Which resources are we going to use so that our MP for Kankoyo can exit this gathering knowing that there's a solution coming? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member Fonkana, if for any reason I didn't allow you to ask 2 questions, it was an omission on my part. The rules require that when a member asks a question, they are given 2 chances to ask a question. Apologies. Also on a lighter note. The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. I think that it's important, Madam Speaker. Probably I'll suggest that in future, through the revision of standing orders, we really need to look at language. What language can we be using so that we are clear of what we are talking about? In my statement, there is the word, the possibility of relocating them. So we are investigating, it's a possibility of relocating these people. That's what we said in the statement. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know English is a foreign language, so we can excuse ourselves for that. But I think the issue of corporate social responsibility for the mines is important. Honorable Member for Petauke will be the last question.
Very offensive, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Minister of Mine, who is so educated, but I'm sure backwards, he went backward doing college.
Order. Honorable Member for Petauke, those are the same words that we should desist from using. Just ask your question. You don't have to talk about how the minister is educated. The fact that you are referring to it is demeaning in its own. So please just ask your supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your guidance. Madam Speaker, the minister said that those cracks in Kankoyo are historical, and the MP are saying they are current, and the MP always is in the constituency. Now, the minister, have you found time to go to Kankoyo constituency to see if those cracks are indeed current or historical? Thank you.
I take it Honorable Member for Petauke has just come in the House, so he was not following what was happening. For your information, Honorable Member, the Honorable Member for Kankoyo has requested the Honorable Minister of Mines and Green Economy to visit Kankoyo, and the Minister has agreed. So don't worry about that. Honorable Member for Kamfisa, what is it a point of order or what? No, I've said we need to have flow now. There will be no points of order. We need to work. We have work to do. We even have a motion which we need to adopt. Let's make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. The Honorable Member for Luvanseshi. Since the Honorable Member for Luvanseshi is not in, the question lapses. Next question, the Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question 382.
The Honorable Minister, the Honorable Minister of Technology and Science, and before the Honorable Minister comes in, I took the liberty to welcome Honorable Jamba. I forgot my own very sister, the Minister of Information. She was also sick. So please welcome Honorable Member. Honorable Minister, you are welcome. So the Honorable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A question is asked to the Minister of Technology in two parts. Why the TEVET board was not appointed in the last 5 years, and in B, when will the board be appointed? Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this August House that in A, one of the immediate tasks of the new Dawn government following its election victory was to restore high levels of corporate governance in statutory institutions in order for them to operate efficiently and respond to the needs of the people. In response to this policy, the Ministry of Technology and Science has undertaken to constitute boards for all its statutory bodies, including TEBET. I'm pleased to inform this August House that the TEBET board was constituted, inaugurated as prescribed by the TEBET Act No. 13 of 1998 and is now fully functional. In B, as stated in Part A of the question, the board has been appointed, inaugurated, and is fully functional. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honourable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I sincerely thank you for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, it appears whenever there will be a change of regime, we may suffer such a situation where corporate governance suffers in most institutions. I'm speaking from the experience of being chairperson for the Committee on Parastatal Bodies. We have a situation where most of these institutions, corporate governance is actually struggling because boards have been delayed to be instituted. And there is no piece of legislation that compels a minister to appoint a board with a time frame given. Honorable Minister, what do you think could be the appropriate situation in order for us to avoid this gap which exists before a board is put in place, to avoid these lapses on corporate governance? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Although the question is asking for an opinion, the Honourable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, obviously, it would be inappropriate to put a period in the Act for the appointment of any board. That can only rest in an SI, a statutory instrument, which could be amended from time to time. In the specific case of our institutions, when we came into power, we found that most of the boards had not been constituted. So that's why we proceeded to immediately constitute and appoint a board, which I've said is functional. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Minister. I do understand that when the UPND New Dawn government came into power, Teveta had been operating for 5 years without a board, and you just constituted that not too long ago. I want to understand as to what really made Teveta to operate for 5 years without a board. What factors really contributed to that? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Technology and Science.
Madam Speaker, indeed the board had not been appointed for a long time. I have already said that within the law, there is no limitation in terms of when you can appoint the board. So in effect, it was within the law. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Nyimba.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. I think Dr. Katak has just asked the question I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Although the second answer as to what really made the board not to be in place, what factors has not been answered. However, my follow-up question is, Minister, in the absence of the board and so many institutions affiliated to Teveta, how did that impact the institution and the institutions that are affiliated to the VETA in the absence of a board? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Technology and Science.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the absence of the board, the law does provide that the supervision of the institution will be done by the ministry through the permanent secretary. So indeed, the permanent secretary was carrying out the function as if there was a board. I thank you.
Thank you. The next question, the Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 383.
Oh, the honorable members, there is too much talking. The Honorable Minister, Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security received a question from the Honorable Engineer Raphael Mabenga, Member of Parliament for Mulobezi, whether government has plans to construct a police station in Mulobezi district, and B, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, government is pleased to announce that it has plans to construct a Grade B police station in Mulobezi district of Western Province. And Madam Speaker, I wish to also announce to the House that government has plans to complete the construction of a police post in Sichili of Mulobezi district, whose construction had stalled and is sitting at 30% due to non-availability of resources. In B, Madam Speaker, the plans will be implemented as soon as funds are made available. And in C, Madam Speaker, it falls off saying that we'll implement it as soon as funds are available. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Before I give the Honorable Minister 10 out of 10, I would like to find out whether this police station is accompanied with houses. Thank you.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, to just give clarity on the Grade B police post, it's a police post, obviously, that will have in excess of about 89 positions, and as such, those positions will require housing for the officers that will be deployed in that area. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Katombola.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to join our colleagues, Mulobezi, that we are sharing the constituency with. Honorable Minister, thank you for the elaborate answer. Is that the policy of the New Dawn government to also put police stations and police posts in rural areas? Because our people really require these services. I thank you.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that interesting follow-up questions from Honorable MP for Katombola. Indeed, it is government's desire and position to have as many police posts as we possibly can in the various rural areas, and would like to encourage our colleagues within the rural constituencies to also get into the idea of having community police posts, which we have seen have been very, very helpful in the recent past, as can be seen in Mulobezi at the moment, which is being run by a community police post, which only has 3 officers at the moment, and supplemented by 3 reserve officers. So government takes care of those particular needs, and we will definitely agree and deploy as many police posts as we possibly can in the rurals. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mulobezi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, is it possible that as we are waiting for the construction of the police station, you can give us more manpower? Because right now we don't have staff. We talked about 3 officers, which is not enough. Can you give us some more officers as soon as possible, please?
The Honorable Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that follow-up question, Honorable MP. Indeed, we sympathize with you with the number of officers that are actually deployed at the current Mulobezi police post. But also, you will agree with me that in as much as we deploy more officers there, we will be constrained with where the officers will be able to sit. But I hear you. We will definitely be speaking outside this chamber to see how best we could beef the number of officers to sit at the current Mulobezi police post. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The question relates to the construction of police station in Mulobezi. I think from the questions and answers we can make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is number 384. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member asked the government whether the government has any plans to develop the Longwe farming block in Isoka district, and B, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and finally, if there are no such plans to develop the farming block, what the reasons are. Madam Speaker, our answer is as follows. A, the government has plans to develop 10 farm blocks in each of the 10 provinces. However, Madam Speaker, Longwe Agricultural Settlement Scheme located in Isoka district is not part of the immediate plans. In B, Madam Speaker, the current plan is that government intends to develop a 100,000 hectare Mansha farm block in Shiwangandu district of Muchinga province. And C, Madam Speaker, through consultations with local stakeholders, Mansha farm block in Shiwangandu was selected as it offered a larger area of initial operation of 100,000 hectares. Whilst the focus is on Mansha in Shiwangandu, Madam Speaker, it does not mean that government will not support activities in other areas. I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, Longwe Agriculture Scheme in Isoka has been underdeveloped for quite a long time. It lacks infrastructure such as storage sheds, water supply system for irrigation, feeder roads, clinics, schools, and radio networks. In this area, Madam Speaker, there are a lot of retired people. They are the ones who stay in that place. So I would like Honorable Minister to develop this place. My question is, what are the plans? What are the plans for government for agriculture schemes such as Longwe? When are you going to develop that place? Because there are a lot of people, a lot of farmers who stay in that place, which is underdeveloped. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As indicated, Madam Speaker, Longwe is not part of the scheme, but that does not mean that the Minister of Agriculture will have no interest there. We will provide extension, and where necessary, we can see how we can do issues of roads, etc. However, it is important, Madam Speaker, for the Honourable Member to realize that Longwe is 2,000 hectares.
The scheme we're talking about, which we want to develop, is 100,000 hectares. Longwe has 99 farm plots, and the other area will be larger. We thought that it is stronger to look at that. However, we have heard, and I think I will encourage the honorable member to come so that those facilities which we can put in the yellow book, we can actually allocate some funds for Longwe. We thank her for the passion, and we encourage other members to take that route. Let us develop agriculture accordingly in this country. I thank you.
Thank you. Since Shwangandu was mentioned, the Honorable Member for Shwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Indeed, the Honorable Minister made reference to the Shwangandu farm block, which, of course, is attracting citizens from across the country. And indeed, the same corridor with Isoka. But this particular area, Honorable Minister, is a productive area. The soils are fertile, and the proximity to the East Africa is very near. You are now seeing people coming here for grain, white grain. What would you do to maximize on that potential in that area while you are developing Shwangandu? What deliberate measures would you take to just improve this area and maximize on its potential, looking at the distance to East Africa, where there's a lot of demand for grain and soybeans? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and we value that input from the honorable members. I think I indicated that we will still provide extension in those areas, but given the interest and the manner in which the place is being defined, I will take personal interest and send people to that area to go and see what we could do. So the people of Longwe should soon expect a group from the Ministry of Agriculture to see what we can do, and together, working with the honorable member for the area, Madam, we'll try very hard to give her the support so that we can increase the productivity in that area. I'm very, very grateful, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Isoka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wanted the Minister to exactly assure my people when they are going to develop that area. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
When I saw the smile, I thought you were going to say thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Can I thank him?
Oh, why?
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
On a light note, tomorrow, Madam Speaker. No, we will actually send people. I cannot say this was not planned for. I need to sit with the officers and see how we can. But we'll definitely do it as soon as possible. I know that we are rising next week, but I'll get in touch with the honorable member so that we make arrangements. We visit when she's there. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, since you have said that you've got plans for all 10 provinces of this country to develop farm blocks, and I know that government has provided you $300 million last money, which we approved in this house. Now, looking at Shwangandu and these other farm blocks you want to develop in this country, so far, if you look at the preparation you've done from the 10 provinces of this country, how many farm blocks you have started developing? Because this is August, this is July, this is the 7th month of the year, and as we are coming in September, we'll be dealing with a budget for 2023. How much money, or how many, 2024, how many farm blocks have you started developing since 2023? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. To be very precise, we were looking at 5 farm blocks of the 10 which we're going to look at. However, Madam Speaker, it is important for the honorable members to know that we have a very, very clear policy. When we go to a province and we see difficulties with traditional leadership about these farm areas, we pull away for a while until those difficulties are sorted out. And that is the case with Eastern Province. We are yet to conclude on that. But there was an area there which we wanted to manage, and we are hopeful that we'll sort it out soon. So another point, Madam Speaker, may I correct? The Yellow Book on farm blocks gave us 100 million Zambia kwacha. The $300 million is actually from our arrangements with outside institutions. In this case, it is a concessionary loan from the World Bank. So I thought it was important. But we are looking at a maximum of 5 farming blocks to work on this, which we started on. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Congo currently is looking for 1 million metric tons of mealie meal. If I was to do my simple mathematics, that is 40 million bags of mealie meal by 400 kwacha is 17 billion kwacha, equivalent to 2 years of FISIP. That's the opportunity we are sitting as a country. Now, with Zambia being put on the Feed for Africa program, hence we are likely to receive more funding from the international community because of our improved international reputation. Is the minister considering allocating more funds to Isoka so that farm block quickly comes to attend to this available market we are sleeping over? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, thank you, and I thank the honorable member. The demand for agricultural produce is actually something, Madam Speaker, which should make every member of this House actually sit up and start producing. We have 1 million tons which the Congo wants. We have 1 million tons which East Kenya wants. We have more than 10 million tons that the Egyptians are asking from us. And it is up to members in this House to get involved in agriculture. We have increased the price. Therefore, there's no reason why we shouldn't get ourselves into agriculture. In terms of these areas, Madam Speaker, there are a lot of settlement schemes in this country. A lot of them have roads, a lot of them have dams, a lot of them are already developed. What we are not doing is to produce. It is up to the Zambians to buy seed, buy fertilizer, produce. At 280 kwacha a bag, you are able to break even effectively in farming and make a lot of money and lead a much, much happier life. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mukushi South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Honorable Minister, you made an indication of opening up a farm block in Shuangan. How much investment opportunity are you expecting once that the farm block is opened? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, I can only answer that question in relation to some of the areas which we have prioritized already and have received a significant investment. I'll give an example of Luena Farm Block. We have in excess of 400 million investment by just 2 institutions, and that is significant enough. You add another one who is already in production. I didn't have figures on how much. I would say a farm block of 100,000 should be able to very, very easily attract close to $1 billion. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The last question, Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, resettlement schemes are all over the country. In Chienge, we have Kapako, and there's one also here just in Kaflafta. Madam Speaker, I would like to find out what the government's plans are, because these resettlement schemes, people are not reproducing as expected. what are the plans that you are going to have for the same resettlement scheme in Wisoka and perhaps even for these other schemes? Because the land is plenty. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As government, what are we doing to enhance agricultural production? Number one, we are sensitizing a lot of people to get back in agriculture. The way I've just been talking here, that let members of parliament, Madam Speaker, get involved in agriculture, including the honorable member for Chienge. Number two, we are now enhancing the facilities for our extension officers. One, by employing a few. Two, by giving them mobility. Three, by giving them computer sets so that they can use these facilities to reach out to more farmers, to know the plots for more farmers. And also, Madam Speaker, as you can see, we are trying very hard to give inputs on time so that production cannot suffer because of delayed input distribution. This should be a thing of the past. We should open a different page in our country. So we are doing everything possible, and we are open to good suggestions from both sides of the aisle, as long as they are good suggestions. We are open for more guidance. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Notes of motion. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House do adopt the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of water supply and sanitation companies for the financial year ended 31st December 2020 for the second session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 11th July 2023.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Chifunavuli. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of water and sanitation companies for the financial year ended 31st December 2020 for the second session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 11th July 2023. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with its terms of reference, as contained in the standing orders, the committee was tasked to consider the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of water supply and sanitation companies for the financial year ended 31st December 2020. Madam, it is important for the House to note that safe drinking water, sanitation, and good hygiene are fundamental to the health and economic development of a nation. However, access to clean water and sanitation is still a challenge in Zambia. Therefore, in order to provide assurance on the government aspirations of ensuring the provision of safe water, sanitation, and hygiene, as contained in the 7th National Development Plan, the Auditor General carried out an audit on the National Water and Sanitation Council, NOASCO, the Water Resources Management Authority, WOMA, and the 11 water supply and sanitation companies responsible for the provision of water and sanitation services in Zambia. Madam Speaker, I wish to reiterate the committee's recognition and appreciation of the work of the Auditor General as an integral part of the improvement in the management and financial performance of the commercial water utility companies. It is my sincere hope that the committee's observations and recommendations contained in this report will be favorably considered and fully implemented by the executive in the interest of the nation. Madam Speaker, as members have had an opportunity to read the committee's report, allow me to highlight a few salient issues contained therein. Madam Speaker, the House may wish to note that during the period under review, most of the commercial water utility companies did not meet the minimum acceptable benchmarks set by NWASCO. For instance, most of them achieved less than 95% water quality confidence level. Further, non-revenue water was at 52.8% against the minimum acceptable benchmark of 25%. Furthermore, the sanitation coverage was at 68.9% against the minimum acceptable benchmark of 80%. In view of the foregoing, the committee urges the controlling officer to ensure that NWASCO management and the board closely supervise the commercial utility companies in order to improve efficiency in the provision of their services and meet the targets set by the regulatory body in order to ensure that all citizens have access to safe and quality water and sanitation services. Madam, the committee further observes with concern that a number of water utility companies have continued to blame their audit queries on what they term as oversight on the part of management. This is highly unacceptable and a reflection of the laissez-faire attitude towards financial management systems in commercial water utility companies. This situation is also exacerbated by the weak internal controls in these statutory institutions. The committee, therefore, reiterates its previous recommendation that the controlling officer should ensure that not only are there functioning boards in all the water utility companies, but also that boards should have stringent but enforceable performance assessment systems for management, and that disciplinary action is taken when deliberate and unnecessary lapses occur. Madam Speaker, another issue of concern affecting the operations of the water utility companies is that water tariffs have stagnated over the years, and the current water tariff is not sufficient to generate enough revenue to cover the operational and administrative costs of water utility companies. The committee further observes with concern that the delay in approving adjustment in the tariff is as a result of the Water Supply and Sanitation Act number 28 of 1997 being silent on who is responsible for approval. The Act merely prescribes the role of NWASCO as the regulator to set guidelines for tariff settings. In view of the foregoing, the committee strongly recommends that the government should, as a matter of urgency, commit resources to reviewing and strengthening the Water Supply and Sanitation Act number 28 of 1997 in order to mandate NWASCO to approve the water tariffs for commercial water utility companies. In concluding, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank all stakeholders who made both written and oral submissions before the committee. I further wish to recognize the role played in the proceedings by the Office of the Auditor General, the Office of the Accountant General, and the Office of the Controller of Internal Audit, without whose assistance the deliberations of the committee could not have been successfully concluded. I also wish to place on record the gratitude of the committee to you, Madam Speaker, for your invaluable guidance throughout the deliberations, and the Clerk of the National Assembly and his staff for their professionalism and support to the committee. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Madam Speaker, now.
The Honorable Member for Chifunavuli.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity of seconding the motion. I would also love to thank my able chairman and the committee for the manner in which he has highlighted the issues that the committee deliberated upon. Madam Speaker, I'll only cite few examples that the Committee on Parastatal witnessed when they met the permanent witnesses. There are few matters, Madam Speaker, that has caught my attention, as the House may wish to note that there was delay in the management of the infrastructure. So I will cite an example of Mpulungu water supply system, which was delayed for 33 months. And it was at the total cost of 167,552,052 ngwe. Then there was also another delay in the management of the infrastructure projects by the government at Kafulafuta water system for 27 months, Madam Speaker. This was also at a total sum of $449 million US. There was also another delay in the rehabilitation of Unakonde water supply system, which was also delayed for the period of 22 months. It was also at the cost of 33,900,443. So when you look at this, Madam Speaker, the committee noted that one of the major reasons for this delay was due to poor funding by the government. As a result, the targeted communities or beneficiaries did not access the delivery services because the projects were delayed. Also, Madam Speaker, the committee has also been worried because of the delay in the completion of these projects. The infrastructure started running down before they were even being used. The committee, therefore, Madam Speaker, is urging the Secretary to the Treasury to ensure that before any project is being undertaken, let there be enough resources to avoid the delays. The committee, Madam Speaker, also is urging the Secretary to Cabinet, to Treasury, that the projects should be completed on time to avoid the water utilities companies to fail to give the services to their customers. Madam Speaker, the committee also observed to say that government institutions are owing these water utility companies huge amounts of money. So the Secretary to Treasury, being the executive, should also look or have an eye to these government institutions that they perform their obligations of paying these utilities to these water companies so that they are able to give their services to their people. So, Madam Speaker, the committee also looked at it to say these water utility companies should also look at means and ways in which they can also collect these debts, especially from government institutions. If it means the government institutions, these water facilities to go and install prepaid meters, let them do so that they are able to run on their own. We are expecting these water utilities and these parastatal bodies companies to stand on their own and be weaned from the government treasury. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, allow me to join the mover of the motion of the committee in thanking you for your guidance. I also wish to thank the clerk and his team for the support rendered to our committee during our deliberations. With these few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to submit and second. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Allow me, Madam Speaker, to thank the chair of the committee. May I also thank the seconder of the motion for this very, very important report relating to access to water. Madam Speaker, I will not go through the matters that have been picked by the committee because I'm sure the report speaks to what needs to be done on non-revenue water as well as all these other challenges that have been identified. Madam Speaker, as we are discussing the issue of water and what the audit findings are, I want to bring to the attention of the committee, through you, Madam Speaker, the issue of water cannot be discussed only in the context of planned settlements. Currently, Madam Speaker, we have a situation where the majority of places that have got access to water are those that are planned. Now, Madam Speaker, a planned settlement is where there's a properly done layout plan, people have accounts with a utility company, and these are paying certain amounts of money to a utility company. And of course, they don't have water every day, but at least they have some water passing through some odd pipes in a certain location. Now, what I would have expected the report to also deal with, Madam Speaker, is access to water in places that are not planned. And Madam Speaker, you are aware that in other reports of other committees, we have discussed issues to do with integrated development plans, meaning we need to start linking these two things. Why should the people in an unplanned settlement not have access to water, but only a few meters away, a place that is well planned has got access to water? So, Madam Speaker, for me, I want this conversation to identify access to water as an enabling factor to even prevent issues of poor health care. So I want to find out, even as I present this debate today, Madam Speaker, why do we have unplanned settlements not having access to water? Why can't we approach this matter in a more integrated approach? If we have an unplanned settlement, say, in Mulenga compound in Kitwe, why is it that few meters away from Mulenga compound, Madam Speaker, there's access to water in Indeke, there's access to water in a nearby place? So what I would have hoped the chair of the committee would have interrogated, further to what they've managed to pick, is how do we ensure, Madam Speaker, that we increase access to water, even to places that are not properly planned? And this is why, Madam Speaker, the previous government, I'm aware, started certain capital projects. Most of these capital projects, which I believe are sitting on the desk of our Minister of Water, require substantial amounts of money. We are not discussing 25 million kwacha, Madam Speaker. We are discussing millions of dollars that are needed. So I would have hoped this report, this very, very important report, Madam Speaker, would have dealt with the issue of financing for the water sector. Because for as long as we don't put in the resources that are needed, not 5 million kwacha, Madam Speaker, even if we increased the constituency development fund to the required level that we feel will bridge the infrastructure gap, Madam Speaker, for as long as the huge sums of money in excess of millions of dollars are not given to that Minister of Water, we will keep bringing issues in this August House, Madam Speaker. The problem of water and access for our people will not be dealt with. Kitwe alone, Madam Speaker, has got 26 unplanned settlements. Lusaka, I don't know how many unplanned settlements we have. I don't know how many unplanned settlements we have in Ndola and all these urban setups. But for as long as, Madam Speaker, we keep giving the minister, I'm aware that for the Phase 2 project under Nkana Water, the ministry has only allocated $59 million, which has not yet been funded. It's just a projection. That will not resolve the problems of water in Kitwe. I would have hoped, Madam Speaker, this report, which has been brought today, would have identified the lack of funding to the required scale, Madam Speaker, as being very critical to bridging the gap in as far as access to water is concerned. From where I stand today, Madam Speaker, the people of Kamfinsa constituency are demanding for water. The issue of non-revenue water simply means there's water running in a pipe, but there are leakages along the way. There are no leakages in Kamfinsa constituency, in particular in Indeke, because, Madam Speaker, there's no water running through those pipes. So I would have hoped that apart from identifying non-revenue water as an issue, that is too small a problem, Madam Speaker. The bigger problem is that our people don't have access to water. The people of Mlenga compound, Madam Speaker, do not have access to water. The people in so many unplanned settlements, Madam Speaker, do not have access to water. From where we sit, Madam Speaker, probably each one of us has got access to water. But what about the poor people? That obviously expected that when a report such as this one is debated today, we should be asking ourselves, out of the 10 utility companies in Zambia, how much money are we giving each utility company to bridge the challenge of access to water, Madam Speaker? For as long as we start discussing smaller technical issues such as non-revenue water, Madam Speaker, that does not give access to our people. What we must do, Madam Speaker, and this is my appeal to the Minister of Water, when a report comes, the manner in which it has come, let's pick out the other more important issues. What are the more important issues, Madam Speaker? Access to water. We don't have access to water. Our people don't have access to water. What they expect is that within a period of 5 years, Madam Speaker, Nkana Water will be given not the $59 million that is estimated to be a reduced scope of project. That water project in Kitwe, Honorable Minister, needed $200 million, and you are aware. We rescoped that project. We have reduced it to $59 million, and we've only given them $5 million. How do we expect people to have access to water if we are reducing the scope of these projects, Madam Speaker? I want to appeal to the Minister. You sit in Cabinet, you sit with the Minister of Finance, lobby adequately that you get more money into your ministry. For as long as you don't get the money, Honorable Minister of Water, we'll keep raising urgent matters of public importance. We'll keep blaming you for failing to respond to the challenges of water for as long as you don't get the resources that you need. I would have hoped that this report, Madam Speaker, as good as it has identified other challenges, it should have also identified the lack of resources as one of the challenges facing the water sector. I want to thank you most sincerely, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to the report by identifying one key issue. Unplanned settlements, Madam Speaker, are places that need to be given first priority. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kanyama.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity that you have given me to debate on this matter that is before us. Madam Speaker, your report has brought out a number of no-pendant issues which needs serious attention. Madam Speaker, I've gone through the report partially, and there are certain things that have actually disturbed me. We're looking at a company that certifies something that every individual in the country consumes water. Everyone in this country consumes water on a daily basis. Like you can see here, we have got bottles of water. Now, this water, for it to come here, it means that it has been certified to be quality water for consumption. But your report, Madam Speaker, is talking about where at some point the test failed, but the utility company continued, giving water to the people to drink, which is a very, very serious omission, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, among other issues, I want to talk about corporate governance versus these patent issues that have come up. Madam Speaker, when we talk about corporate governance, what we are saying is the way through which a company is directed and controlled. And there are institutions that manage that. We've got institution of shareholders. In this case, this is a public company. It is the government, ourselves. The second institution is that of board of directors. Then the next is the executive management. Now, the key to governance of a company is the board of directors. These are the ones that provide a strategic plan through which a company will be directed. Now, it has got two roles. One is an agent. Two is a trustee. It's an agent in the sense that it's given that mandate to administer the company affairs without forgetting the interest. And the interest to be the best interest of the shareholders. As a trustee, by implied, they are the custodians of the company, the assets and funds and whatever has to do with the company. Now, if we don't have a credible board, then the superordinate goal of the company won't be achieved because they are at the engine of the company. Madam Speaker, if we had a credible company, board, Madam Speaker, the Companies Act provides for what needs to be done. And mind you, the board ensures that it is compliant with the laws. The company complies with the laws. Now, the laws has categorically stated what needs to be put in the management of the company. The Company Act demands that there must be an internal audit wing. Thereafter, there will be an external audit wing for the purpose of checks and balances. You cannot afford not to provide checks and balances to what is happening in these companies. You agree with me that the moment a certain group feels has got powers, they can do whatever they want, and no one can stop them. Why? Because there are no provisions of checks and balances. And what suffers is the shareholder, the consumers, those who suffer. So it is advisable to the minister to ensure that those institutions of governance in a company are really taken care of. We need to ensure that the board performs its role. And as we are selecting the board, we are guided. The Companies Act will guide as the qualifications of who should be in a board and what they're supposed to do. If you are going to look at who raised the fist that high, who raised the palm that high, and send him to be a board member, I think you were missing a point. At the end of the day, it will be the shareholders and other stakeholders that are going to suffer. Madam Speaker, we are told from the report that at some point the utility companies could not give a financial report, which is a mandate of any public company to do that. So if we had a board that is supervising this executive management, I think such would have been actualized. And I will start wondering whether in this utility company we have got internal auditors, something that is yet to be established. If we don't have, I think there is urgent need to constitute that. Like members, I don't know, I think someone will have to interpret it for me. They say, I think someone will, I think we understand this concept. No, we all understand it. There are quite a number of bodies that we have got NWASCO, we have got WAMA, we have got a number of. So you realize that the sole purpose of the company is not somehow realized, because the small monies that the companies will try and collect we'll go towards those other, regulatory bodies and like that who want to buy GXs and, all those fancy, vehicles. Madam Speaker, we just need to be, serious on some of these issues. We are talking about a life. Water utility companies, their mandate is to provide clean drinking water and sanitation. Now, if you are going to have substandard engineers that are going to be, presiding over the welfare of our people, I think we just need to be serious. And moreover, we are under a task where they look at the SDG 6, which is talking about health. If we are going to compromise on the quality of engineers, quality of employees that are in sensitive places, I think won't be meeting the required standards from the international bodies. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I would want to urge the Minister, in the event we have got a body of directors that is not functioning, I think it's just right that we do away with that. If we don't have, we constitute one. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to discuss this very, important subject. The issue of water is very dear to my heart because for me, it's an everyday challenge that out of every 20, 30 phone calls you receive on a daily basis from your community, there is a possibility that half of those will be calling you to lament over the challenges of water. Perhaps let me start by commending the Minister of Water. The issue of leadership is critical in us rising above this challenge we are discussing today. If I've not said this, Honorable Minister, I want to say it publicly that for me, you have shown good leadership, that you have been very responsive every time that we've called you over our challenges, particularly in Nkana. I have had to make a phone call away from Europe to call your board chairman, very responsive man as well. In the middle of the night, he will respond to you. That is what is needed if we are to address these problems. The challenge, however, comes as we go down. And Honorable Minister, we have lamented to you, or we've called on you, on the need for you to go down and begin to supervise on the effectiveness of the people that you have placed in these critical institutions insofar as the provision of quality water is concerned. Because, Madam Speaker, we cannot overemphasize the need for access to quality water. And when we discuss subjects like this, Madam Speaker, it makes me want to use statements that sometimes are protested in this House, namely, who bewitched us? I will not say that because I was censured by the presiding officer. I keep wondering, Madam Speaker, I don't want to think that somebody bewitched us because nobody has bewitched us. Because we sit amidst the largest water bodies. When you go into our communities, Madam Speaker, people question us. Why is it that we fail to access water when a very huge river passes just in our backyard? Kafue River. So for the common person in our community, they will not accept our inability to provide them quality water. Because all these things that we will explain, administration, the non-revenue water, all these, they don't make sense for our people. What makes sense for our people is that every morning is going to, open up the tap and they will be able to receive water. Now, my colleagues have stated the need for us to finance this sector. Yes, Honorable Minister of Water, there's need for you and all of us as stakeholders, because look, 50 plus years after independence, we cannot sit here proudly, wear our beautiful suits, and still be talking about challenges of water, when this country is blessed with abundant water resources. What we must be discussing, how can we marshal ourselves towards lobbying for financing to this very critical sector? Like Honorable Kangombe says, unfortunately our conversation must not just be limited to planned communities. Everybody requires water. Everybody needs quality and safe drinking water. So it is a responsibility of all of us to ensure that we come together and see where we can go. Because I know that there are a lot of cooperating partners who can assist us in this quest. But other than us going to the cooperating partners, even within our own space, we can marshal and mobilize resources towards the provision of quality water. That is why, Madam Speaker, as we discuss this report, pertinent issues must be discussed. The chairperson of the report of the committee talks about the need for us to revise the water tariffs. I disagree. For you to be able to raise the tariffs of a service, the people must have benefited. People are not enjoying benefits of water supply. If you come into my community, Madam Speaker, two things will greet you. Number one, people complaining about those historical bills. The issue of historical bills, Minister, has been long-standing. It has been a subject that has been very thorny for many years. Issues of people being billed for services they've not received. If you go to Mindolo, in my community, you go to Buchi, people are stepping in fecal matters. How do you expect them to pay for a service? People are receiving bills when their taps are dry. There's no way we can sit here and signal or other agree to raising tariffs when people are receiving bills for services they've not used. This sector, Honorable Minister, for me, I think it's a self-sustaining sector. When you provide quality water at all times, people are prepared to pay for that service. What our people in the community are saying is that give us water, we'll be able to pay for that service. Meaning that we will not even need to go to beg anyone to give us resources to plow back into this sector if we are up to date in the provision of this service. I want to put it to you, Honorable Minister. I think that the challenge you sit on is the inertia of the people mandated to supervise or run these utility companies. Oftentimes, because you see, we should not lie to ourselves that we are going to sit on so much resources that we will not even have a desire for. Every little resource we have now must be used prudently. So the people that are managing water utility companies must put to good use the little resources that they have at their disposal. What people are expecting, Honorable Minister, is that when you bill them, the money they are going to pay must go back into improving the sector. So, Honorable Minister, for me, as I conclude, we stand proud that at least we have a man in charge who is very responsive, but that is not enough. What is important, Honorable Minister, is that all of us in here are ready to help you more, or rather push for more resources to be put into that sector. But before we do that, we want to see efficiency in the little resources that we have given you so far. Because the little money we appropriated through the budget we approved last year should be able to see a few results. You have given us a project in Nkana, in Kitwe, $55 million, and I want to borrow what Honorable Kangombe said. We wish that you should have continued with a $200 million project, because that $59 million project is not going to address those critical issues that are causing the intermittent supply of water in our communities. For as long as we don't address that problem, paying for water services in Kitwe will remain a challenge, because people want to pay for a service that is consistent. So, Honorable Minister, the people in Mindolo, the people in Buchi, the people in Luyando are yearning for quality water, and they are prepared to pay for that service. What they are asking from you and all of us in here, let us continue to mobilize resources towards the provision of quality water. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I would like to join my colleagues who have bemoaned the issue of water and sanitation in the various areas we're coming from. Madam Speaker, this morning at 08:30, my Reverend Mwambwa was saying to me, morning, the Honorable, even this morning, here, there is no water. Taps are dry. We need water bowsers to have fish. This is an everyday request coming from our residents. And I pity the minister because we have tried to put him under so much pressure. But I totally have a different view of how these water utility companies should be functioning, Madam Speaker. These companies are in a business. And if a company is in business, why should this company be funded by the taxpayer, who eventually equally pays for the water bill? So there is need for the government to separate the expenditure that it keeps on putting on these water utility companies. We have heard from the chairperson. He was given an example of 167 million that was invested of taxpayers' money. We have heard projects that have not been able to take place because of inconsistent funding. Madam Speaker, these companies have got assets. And using the government, they can actually get loans across banks around the world, which can speak to investing into them being more productive as it is, as it's supposed to be, not what is currently happening. These companies, we're giving them grants. That money can be going into health, can be going into education. Why should they be given grants? Today, these companies, Honorable Minister, are not paying their statutory obligations. They don't pay NAPSA, they don't pay pensions, and whenever they have money, and because they know they can fall back on government, they even lack innovation. Madam Speaker, if you look at the board members that are selected to oversee the operations of these utility companies, there's a huge gap between management and the board. The board members are so exposed, are so enlightened, and yet when these companies are planning for their survival, for their growth, to provide us services, there's a mismatch. Right now we have rural electrification moving very fast in the rural areas. How do you have power and you don't have water? So these issues are not speaking to each other. And there is need for government to realize that there is need for a total overhaul on supporting these parastatal companies, or indeed these companies that are providing a service, which the Zambian people themselves end up paying payments for in terms of bills. It does not make sense that today, Mulonga Water, I remember when I came here in 2016, they got a loan from the European Bank, 330 million euros. In 2018, 2019, I challenged the government then to do a forensic audit to understand why up to now we are in the stage of feasibility. Yes, now the pipes are being laid. Yes, now there's, the work is going on. But already we have heard from the contractor that funds will not be enough. So there is need for these companies to become more serious, to become independent, and contribute to the well-being of our economy. As it stands, Madam Speaker, I can't call them companies. I'll call them government parastatals that have to survive from taxpayers' money. Now you can imagine the amounts of pilferage, financial pilferage, that is currently happening in these companies. So my position is that we need to move away from all this unlimited funding we have been giving these companies for them to become businesses that should be able to stand on their own, remain innovative, and contribute to the well-being of our people. So as much as I support the report, my thinking is that we need to move away, Madam Speaker, from the current status quo. We can't be putting them in our national budget. Why should we be funding their infrastructure expansion programs when they can, they themselves, as a business, fully fledged, with technocrats, can come up with business proposals, and if they need any support from government in terms of sovereign guarantees, government can provide that. But in the current form, Honorable Minister, your companies will not expand. Your companies will not support the well-being of our people. because your funding will not be enough. Madam Speaker, I think with these few words, I end here. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you for allowing the voice of Chengi to contribute on this very important motion. Madam Speaker, water is life, and also there's a good book which says, I wish you to live well, meaning to be healthy. You cannot separate water from sanitation. Madam Speaker, we are laboring here just to discuss water, water, water. But when we look at the other side, we are forgetting that the President has announced that in all schools should have now ablution blocks, meaning all schools should be able to have toilets that should be flushed. Now, when you look at the pace at which these companies are operating, I think it's to be a non-starter. Madam Speaker, we are talking about these companies to be, generating, a company that should be generating its own revenue. Unfortunately, I think what is causing all these problems are the appointments of the so-called directors. I'll give an example in Tanzania, Madam Speaker. I was privileged to be in the Committee of Transport and Communication in the 12th session. I discovered that for the railways that they have, the local railways for Tanzania, the President appointed an entrepreneur, and that institution is doing far much better because they got a bank manager to run that institution. Even the same thing with the issue of these utility companies that we're talking about. We cannot be just speaking because somebody has been in the company. We need to look at it, somebody who can make money, who can generate funds, because we cannot go on giving money to these utilities, as my Honorable Anson has already mentioned. It's like taking sugar and pouring that sugar in Lake Mweru trying to make zikolo, and it will not work. This is people's money, and we keep on wasting money and wasting money. Madam Speaker, everyone has bemoaned the issue of bills. I'm also a victim of those bills. So we want to know why the government cannot completely win off these utility companies, so that even the positions will be advertised in the newspapers and the right people take up the position. These institutions, Madam Speaker, are supposed to be, run by people who have experience in, generating money. In other words, a business kind of a mind person should be heading such institutions. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to quickly to talk about the safe water, drinking water that Zambians are drinking at the moment. According to UNICEF, we have about 64% of the population of Zambia which is using the basic drinking water. But when you look at the clean water, even in Chiangi, we're still waiting for Wapula, I think it's Wapula something water. I've never even bothered to know, because up to now, I hear the people of Unchelenge, the kind of water that they take when you're there. It's nothing to talk about. So, Madam Speaker, what I'm trying to say is the Zambians are in a high risk of taking water which is poisonous, because these utilities companies are not providing the right service that they're supposed to do. If you talk of, I'll just touch everywhere I know, if you touch of Nakonde, when you look at that water, recently we had a funeral and a lot of people came from there, had typhoid, because of the failure of the people who are in charge of this institution providing safe drinking water. To conclude, Madam Speaker, I would want to emphasize that this ministry, which is being handled or being headed by the well-able man, Honorable Portia, to look into the issue also of public toilets, because these public toilets, when you go there, because these utilities are failing to provide water, you find that this is a public toilet where there's no water. So it's also a health hazard to the Zambians. It's a risk for Zambians. Madam Speaker, I think it's very important that these utility companies be weaned off completely from the government, and the appointment of the CEOs or those who should be running this company should not be appointed, but should be a proper advert where there will be so much of competition, people with background of business, then they should be given the chances to run these utility companies. I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, and I hope we won't be getting these bills again where we've not had water. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chama South. Well, the Honourable Member for Chama South is not there. He had indicated. The Honourable Member for Chimwemwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. May I thank the chairperson and the vice chairperson, Madam Speaker, of your committee. Madam Speaker, we're all looking at water, and everybody else has been complaining about how access to clean water is a challenge in Zambia. Madam Speaker, I'll look at your committee's report, and I'll start looking at Chambishi before I actually get back to my own constituency. Madam Speaker, if you look at Chambishi, one of the noted points by your committee, Madam Speaker, says staff efficiency. Madam Speaker, if you look at it, this organization now qualifies to be called a bloated organization. Madam Speaker, this organization has actually employed more of the unnecessary staff, leaving out the core employees. The core employees, Madam Speaker, who can actually turn around this organization and make it profitable, and obviously, Madam Speaker, try and by all means to actually allow people to have access to clean water and sanitation. Madam Speaker, if you really look at this, look at the failure to fill vacancies. Madam Speaker, how can they fill vacancies when already the wage bill is actually bloated with people that are not doing anything? Madam Speaker, if you really go down on the report itself, you will see that there's evidence showing that the same institution was failing to prepare financial statements. Madam Speaker, this goes back to showing that they do not have the competent staff. Madam Speaker, why? Because already they've overloaded their payroll with people that are not doing anything. Madam Speaker, if you look at their income, already their income shows that it's below budget. Madam Speaker, if you really look at their lack of procurement plan, Madam Speaker, an organization that big, without a procurement plan, Madam Speaker, means that they'll be buying stuff from unreliable sources. Madam Speaker, that brings in quality issues. Madam Speaker, at the same time, we're looking at water. Madam Speaker, water needs chemicals. So if, because the way procurement plan, Madam Speaker, works is an organization is able to tell which contractors, which traders they are going to engage throughout the year. But Madam Speaker, they do not have this procurement plan, and most of them don't. So as a result, Madam Speaker, when it comes to purchases, they will purchase from any other trader, any other organization, Madam Speaker, putting lives of people at risk. Madam Speaker, if you look at it, we need water that is treated. So if water is not treated, this is more reason that sometimes, Madam Speaker, we have outbreaks of water diseases, simply because the procurement plan is not adhered to. Madam Speaker, if you look at them, they're actually failing to meet statutory obligations. So this is all going back to the same thing. They do not have competent men. Madam Speaker, it's unfortunate that this report was done in 2016, 2018. I hope by now we've changed. If not, Madam Speaker, we are looking at delayed payment to contractors. Madam Speaker, I've heard of a lot of people complaining about Zambian contractors as contractors that have the prices that are exorbitant. And everybody says that's why people want to make a lot of money. Madam Speaker, people are not trying to make a lot of money. If you're working with organizations like this, that will hold on to your money, Madam Speaker, indefinitely. It be 2-3 years, Madam Speaker. And this is a contractor who's actually gotten his working capital from the bank. And Madam Speaker, so long as that principal amount remains unpaid for so long, but the Speaker, the bank continues charging him interest. But Speaker, how does this contractor come in with 10%, 15% of his profit? But Speaker, it doesn't make sense. That's why some of the projects that we've seen, others are complaining, others are mocking others that these projects were very expensive. They are not expensive, Madam Speaker, if you really look at it realistically, Madam Speaker. I, Madam Speaker, would understand a contractor who's only got 35% as interest, 35% as a profit. Madam Speaker, after this organization holds on to his capital for so long, and the guy keeps on paying the bank, Madam Speaker, what do you expect? That's why our contractors are very expensive. Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Oh, the Honorable Member from Nkana, you had your opportunity to debate and nobody distracted you.
Madam Speaker, let me look at Nkana now, Nkana water and storage, where my constituency lies. Madam Speaker, we've seen the non-revenue water. We know that there are two kinds of losses here. There's real losses and apparent losses. The real losses, like my colleague Honorable Kangombe said, these are from leaks. But Madam Speaker, the apparent losses actually come from inaccuracies on metering. And this is the biggest problem that we have in Chimwemwe. But Madam Speaker, Chimwemwe was actually built before independence. And most pipes, Madam Speaker, are corroded because these are all galvanized pipes. So the leaks, Madam Speaker, are an everyday thing. So half the time, people in Chimwemwe, Madam Speaker, do not have any drinking water. Madam Speaker, the metering problem here is actually even worse in Chimwemwe, Madam Speaker, where somebody with a very large yard, he does his watering on a daily basis. He has to pay 300 kwacha. And here's another person who doesn't even have any grass. He hardly waters any grass. He still has to pay 300 meter on the same meters, Madam Speaker. This is where we're saying this non-revenue water, Madam Speaker, comes into play. Madam Speaker, if you look at the metering ratios as well, we have new areas in Chimwemwe, like east of Garaton. Madam Speaker, each time these people are buying plots from the council, there's a portion where they have to pay to water and sewerage. That's Nkana, Madam Speaker, for sanitation and water. Madam Speaker, they do this in advance. But Madam Speaker, 4 years down the line, these people do not even have any drinking water. Madam Speaker, if you look at the way this area is, it's like on a hill. So, Madam Speaker, people, because they do not have any services from Nkana water, they've resorted to actually digging their own shallow wells and at the same time having their pit latrines or even having the soccerways. Madam Speaker, the people downstream, Madam Speaker, are always suffering from diarrhea diseases.
Hold down. As the time is 16:40, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
You are still watching Parliament Television, and that was Mr. Allen Banda, Member of Parliament for Chimwemwe, who was adding his voice to the motion that is under discussion at the moment, and this is the committee report on parastatal bodies. So we expect the motion to continue after the break.
Yes, and the House has so far considered one question for oral answer understanding order 76, 3 questions for oral answer understanding order 74, and another question, which is question number 381, lapsed because the Member of Parliament was not present in the House. And still to come on the order paper, we have a resumption of committee work on the National Prosecution Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, and we also expect the House to consider the Human Rights Commission Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2023, which is coming at committee stage. And so we'll be giving you details of this later on. For now, we take a break. Remember, business of the House will resume at 17 hours. Keep watching Parliament Television. Good afternoon.
This is Mwene Luhamba, Member of Parliament for Mangango constituency in Kaoma district in Western Province. I am born from Kamanisha village in Iwambua ward. I schooled at Mwito Primary School. We used to cross the Luena River every morning, going to school and crossing back, going home. That has been my and our life. in childhood. And from Mwito Basic, I went to Kambule Technical Secondary School in Mongu. From Kambule, I went to St. Mark's Secondary School. That is where I finished my grade 12. And from there, I went to the Livingstone Teachers Training College and trained as a teacher. So I'm a primary school teacher also by profession. And after that, I went also to the University of Zambia, and I did business administration. And from there, I went to Mulungushi University. I did a bachelor's degree in commerce, and I majored in economics, which we call BCom Economics. From there, I've been working as a teacher actually from the time I left the Livingstone Teachers Training College. I've been teaching. I taught in Choma, Chongwe, and Lusaka finally. My constituency is in Kaoma district. You know, Kaoma district has got two constituencies. That is Kaoma Central and Mangango constituency. So Mangango constituency is one of the vast constituencies in Zambia. I can describe it. It's got a population of about 66,000 people. And this is where I come from. So it's a very good constituency with a lot of timber. It's got quarry also. The quarry that is used for construction of roads, houses, and any other, okay, in construction. That's where the quarry is coming from. Very nice quarry. And we also have fishing activities there. We have got timber, if I've mentioned it. We also have rice farming. People there are very good rice farmers. Cassava, maize, millet, sorghum. Those are the kinds of food that we eat in Mangango constituency. It's a very nice constituency. The people there are very good, very jovial. We have got, you know, Mangango constituency has got almost all the tribes in Western Province, and as well as the tribes in Northwestern, because we have got Lundas there, Luvales there, Koyas there, Lozes there, Chokwes there, Luchazes there, Bembas are there, Tongas are there, the whole Zambia, all the tribes are there in Mangango. So we don't practice tribalism in Mangango. So to talk about tribalism really in Mangango, then you are off cast, because we live together. It's a constituency where you find a Tonga has married a Nkoya, a Lozi has married a Mbunda, a Kwangwa has married a Luchazi, a Chokwe has married any other tribe in Mangango. That's the way we are living. So if one brings about tribalism in there, then they have lost it. Otherwise, we are people that are living together, very united, understanding, very hardworking, very cooperative people. They are just so good people in Mangango. Our developmental agenda in Mangango is a people's-driven agenda, what the people want. That's what we are simply implementing. That's what we are simply doing. People want clinics, and we are constructing clinics all over. People want maternity wings. We are constructing maternity wings. People want classrooms. We are constructing classroom blocks. And in Mangango, we have firstly gone flat out for 1x3 classroom blocks, because we don't want to come back again so soon to start constructing again other classrooms. We haven't constructed any one room as a classroom or 1x2. No, we are constructing 1x3. All community schools have new permanent structures now. We are also constructing staff houses. That's for civil servants in all the ministries. We are also constructing we have bought desks in all the schools. There is no single school in Mangango that hasn't received a desk. we are sharing the cake that we have equitably, equally. All schools have received some parts, some amounts of the CDF. So we are doing all those things. We are also going to do our bridges, because crossing points are very, very important to us. A situation whereby you are just here, just 10 meters across is where you are supposed to go. But you find that for you to reach at that point, you have to go about 20, 30 kilometers to go and come round like this to go across. So we are connecting the two different points, for example, with the bridges. Not only that, we have also gone into the procurement of earth-moving equipment so that we are able to work on our roads and open up the roads, you see, connect one government institution to the other with a good gravel road. That's our wish. So we have gone now with this way of procuring earth-moving equipment. That's the grader, the TLB, compactor, water bowsers and such. That will help us construct these roads. It will be so costly for us to be hiring equipment to work on our roads. But if we have our own, like we are going to have our own, like we now have our own, we will just be putting in fuel, lubricants, and pay our workers, and then we go do our roads. So those are some of the things that the developmental things that the good people of Mangango want. I personally don't have to claim to say I'm doing this. No, it's the good people of Mangango that are doing it, because when there is a construction taking place at that particular site, people, the locals, are also involved. So there is job creation involved, taking place. They will come construct this particular infrastructure. The contractor will just come with the materials and maybe one or two technocrats in that particular area, and then employ the locals to do the construction. That means there is job creation amongst our people, amongst our youths in our areas, in various areas. So by come 2026, what we need is each and every corner of Mangango constituency touched with the infrastructure. So this is the main agenda for Mangango. It's a developmental agenda. It's a people's-driven agenda. We are simply implementing the promises that we promised the good people of Mangango, that this will be done. The other equipment that we are about to procure by